class, my name is Mcortese, and welcome to my disability presentation on students with orthopedic impairments. Today I'm going to cover what an orthopedic impairment is and what educators must know about this disability. For those who do not know what an orthopedic impairment is, it's defined from the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act as a severe orthopedic impairment that adversely affects a child's educational performance. The term includes impairments caused by a congenital anatomy, impairments caused by disease, and impairments from other physical causes. Orthopedic impairments can be broken down into three categories: neuromotor impairments, degenerative diseases, and musculoskeletal disorders. Some examples of an orthopedic impairment are genetic abnormalities such as clubfoot, diseases such as bone tuberculosis, physical injury, missing limbs, birth trauma, amputation, polio, multiple sclerosis, neuromotor impairments such as cerebral palsy, spinal bifida, and muscular dystrophy. Students with an orthopedic impairment may face many challenges at school. There are many essential things that an educator must know about this disability in order to give the student the best education possible. An educator must always be sensitive to a student with disabilities needs and learn to employ the best practices. Students with orthopedic impairments can learn in the general education classroom, and educators should make sure they are included in it. Inclusive classrooms are extremely important, and the educator should keep in mind any activities he or she wishes to plan or can be modified for the student's needs. For example, if an educator wants to plan a field trip, he or she should make sure the bus and the location is wheelchair accessible. The same goes for the general classroom, and the educator should make sure materials needed for the student is close to them and not across the room in hard-to-reach places. Nobody knows the disability better than the student with the orthopedic impairment. Students should be encouraged to talk confidentially with their instructor during the first week of classes to discuss their functional difficulties and needs, and to talk about ways to accommodate their needs as well. Many students with orthopedic impairments have no cognitive, learning, language, or sensory issues. Just because they have a physical disability doesn't mean they're intellectually impaired in any way. This is important for educators and other students to understand, and not be afraid to intellectually challenge them in their learning. Many students with orthopedic impairments use assistive technology and devices for mobility. Without assistive and mobility technology, they might not be as strong learners. Teachers should familiarize themselves with this technology so they can assist with it in case the student needs assistance with it. Examples of some mobility devices they may use is canes, walkers, crutches, wheelchairs, and specialized chairs, desks, and tables for proper positional development. Examples of assistive technology for communication, especially for students with cerebral palsy, is electronic communication boards, eye tracking devices, and writing aids. Students' social interactions are often limited because of limited mobility and insecurity over impairment. This may even affect a student's academic performance or behavior. Some students with orthopedic impairments may feel depressed as a result of their physical disability. Educators should recognize the signs of a student being excluded from activities. Students with disabilities are 2 to 3 times more likely to be bullied than their non-disabled peers as well. This is why educators must always include students with disabilities in their learning and allow for greater group activity as well. One teaching strategy, tip, or instructional technique an educator should know is cooperative learning. Cooperative learning may be a great approach to use with students to have more inclusion in the classroom. Educators can divide the classroom up in small groups, and each of them should have a shared goal to accomplish. Students with orthopedic impairments may feel more secure in a small group and less excluded from activities this way. Another instructional technique an educator should know is it can be a daily challenge for students with orthopedic impairments to get around. Educators should consider the accessibility of a classroom for students with orthopedic impairments. For example, an educator has to make sure that his or her environment in the classroom can fit wheelchairs or walkers and make it easy for students to access their materials. The second strategy is to collaborate with the student's physical therapist, occupational therapist, and speech-language pathologist. The teacher should ask them questions and see what kind of activities they do with the student, and perhaps the teacher can take some inspiration from that to incorporate in their own classroom. A great technique to use is to allow extra time and flexibility for processing notes, locating resources, or taking a quiz. Flexibility to deadlines is important. Students with orthopedic impairments benefit from this accommodation because of the longer duration that is needed of them to complete basic tasks. Since students with orthopedic impairments can easily tire out, even doing simple tasks such as taking notes, educators should look into graphic organizers for them to take less notes or look for a note taker for them. Also, they should be allowed to respond more orally if they cannot physically write. Students with orthopedic impairments often perform at level with students of their age group, provided they are given differentiated instruction. A student may need extra training to facilitate communication and may have difficulty controlling the muscles of their arms or legs. They may also be impatient with themselves or others and tend to fatigue easily and require rest due to pain. Educators should remember to use a strength-based approach with their students with orthopedic impairments. Don't focus on their weaknesses, but rather their strengths. Every student has their own strengths and weaknesses, and educators should always play to their strengths to ensure the best education for them. In conclusion, students with orthopedic impairments are just as dedicated learners as any other student. Some accommodation and learning techniques may need to be in place to meet their needs, but once accomplished, success in the classroom will most likely be guaranteed. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope everyone learned something new about students with orthopedic impairments. Thank you.